Many of us are tracking our food completely wrong. Not for lack of trying, but because no one taught us the four mistakes that quietly derail everything. I've logged my food every single day for nearly 4,000 days. That's roughly 11 years. No breaks, no I'll start again on Monday. And today I'm sharing what took me a decade to figure out, so you don't have to. Most people think a calorie deficit is just about eating less, but I've come to realize that we're chasing perfect and abandoning consistent. We're treating the numbers like a report card instead of market research. And after 40, our hormonal landscape changes, which means the calorie approach that worked in our 30s may no longer apply. Today, I'll walk you through the four mistakes I made, and stick with me because the last one took me the longest to learn and might be the most important. Welcome back to the Asset Series, 6 foundational pillars for executive health. Today, Pillar 5, total energy, and the macro that anchors it all. If we're just meeting, I'm Alicia Bell. I'm an executive, a mom, and I'm obsessed with the realistic applications of biohacking and health protocols within compressed timelines. I share what actually works when your schedule is slammed and your biology takes a back seat to the boardroom. As of filming this video, I've tracked my food intake for nearly 4,000 consecutive days, approximately 11 years of N of 1 data on one human, me. Am I over the top? Probably. Do I have a data set most nutritionists would envy? Absolutely. I'm not a wellness influencer, nor a doctor. I'm a busy professional and parent focused on maximum output without the burnout. Today is about the ROI of optimizing you. And here's the top line. In the last video, we covered equilibrium, the protocols that protect your energy output. Today, we shift to input. And Peter Drucker said it best. You can't manage what you don't measure. Most executives would never run a business without a P&L, but we run our bodies on vibes. Tracking isn't restriction. It's the operating data on your highest performing asset. Today, we're covering 4 mistakes I made and the simplest shift that fixed each. Stick around. The last lesson is the one I wish someone had handed me on day 1. Mistake number 1. We treat a missed log like a broken streak, and we quit. Studies on habit formation show that frequency beats accuracy. Researchers at University College London have showed that consistency, not perfection, is what wires a behavior to become automatic. And yet, what do many of us do? We miss logging one meal on a Tuesday. We skip Wednesday because we already ruined the week. And by Friday, all bets are off. We tell ourselves we'll start again on Monday, or the first of the month, or maybe after the next happy hour. I'm a big fan of my food scale. I weigh my chicken, I weigh my yogurt, and I'll admit it, when I'm at home, I weigh out my wine. But there's no way I'm pulling out a food scale at an upscale professional dinner. So I do what I call roughly right calorie tracking. I match the restaurant's menu calories if they're listed. I estimate when I have to. I round. And most importantly, I keep logging. Because here's what 4,000 days has taught me. A roughly right log on the day of a special event is infinitely more useful than a perfect log that I never make. I'm not trying to win an accuracy contest. I'm trying to spot my trends. In business, we don't wait for the perfect data to make a decision. We make the call with what we have, and we refine. We can apply that same discipline to our macro tracking. Roughly right beats exactly wrong every single day. Mistake number 2. We assume tracking is a life sentence. It's not. There's a concept in behavioral science called the observer effect. The simple act of measuring something changes the behavior. That's true with employee performance, with spending, and even with food. The act of logging in itself shifts how you choose. But here's what the research also tells us. Once a behavior becomes internalized, the measurement becomes optional. The system trained the behavior. The behavior no longer needs the system. Honestly, most of my calorie counting and food tracking now is automatic. I know what 30 grams of protein looks like on my plate. I know what a 1-pound cup per week feels like in my calorie budget. And I know what a maintenance week feels like in my body. The data became internalized. I still log because at 4,000 days, the streak is part of my identity. But if I stopped tomorrow, the knowledge would remain. The habits are ingrained. That's the actual goal. Tracking is the training wheels, not the bike. You don't track forever. You track until the system trains the instinct. We know we need to manage our assets at work. Let's manage our biological assets as well. And by the way, if you're already thinking, I need to actually do something with this, there's a one-page audit linked below. It's the whole assets framework. Self-rate the 6 pillars in 60 seconds. Free, grab it whenever. Okay, so we've established that consistency beats perfection and that tracking has an expiration date. But the next mistake is incredibly common among high-achieving women, even if they've been tracking for years. They're working so hard, but on the wrong thing. Mistake number 3. We obsess over macro tracking and carb-to-fat ratios. We agonize over meal timing. We spend more energy on the minutiae than on the major levers we can pull to actually move the dial. One of my favorite YouTubers, exercise scientist Dr. Mike Israetel, says it best. Stop majoring in the minors. For body recomposition, building muscle, losing fat, or both, the research is remarkably consistent. The big rocks are total calories, protein intake, and resistance training. Everything else, the exact ratio of carbs to fat, the meal timing, the fasting window, that's optimization on the margins. Important eventually, but not where most of us should start. For years, I spent more mental bandwidth on what time I cut off my carbs rather than whether I was hitting my protein target. Now, I focus on calories and protein, period. Whatever calories are left over in my budget, I spend on carbs and fats as desired. Hitting my protein target anchors everything else, from appetite to muscle preservation to recovery. The carb-fat balance is a rounding error compared to nailing protein. I think of it like running an organization. Calories are the budget, protein is the priority line item. Everything else is a rounding error. Mistake number 4. This is the one I promised at the top. The lesson that took me the longest to learn and might be the most important. For years, I treated my food log data like a calorie counting report card. I'd open the app at the end of the day and rate myself. Did I do well on my food tracking? Did I mess up on my calorie deficit? Should I make up for it tomorrow? I had a moralized relationship with my own numbers, and it made me dread the very data I was working so hard to collect. Then one day, it clicked. The data isn't a verdict. It's not a grade. It's not a referendum on whether I'm a good or a bad person that day. It's metabolic market research. Some days, my log shows 1,700 calories. That's data. Other days, it shows 2,500 calories. That's more data. Neither is good, neither is bad. Both are inputs. The only question worth asking is, what does this trend tell me to adjust next week? When I stopped grading and started adjusting, tracking became sustainable. And once it was sustainable, it compounded. 4,000 days of compounding. Your metrics are leading indicators meant to inform a strategic pivot, not a final audit of your character. Data exists for optimization, not for apology. Here's what I've come to realize. Tracking gets a bad reputation because most people experience it as a restrictive diet. It's not. A diet is a temporary intervention. Tracking is a long-term relationship with your own data. The reason I've kept at it for nearly 4,000 days isn't discipline. It isn't willpower. It's curiosity. I genuinely want to know what's true about my own body. The numbers tell me. Then I get to decide what to do with the information. Here's the bottom line. Track to understand yourself, not to control yourself. Before I let you go, I want to address 4 common tracking objections from women exactly like us. Stay with us for another minute because one of them is probably already on your mind. Question 1. I'm in perimenopause and everything I read says my metabolism has changed. Does food tracking still work for women over 40? Or do old calorie counting goals go out the window? Food tracking arguably matters more in perimenopause, not less. And here's why. The research on nutrition over 40 is clear. Estrogen shifts change how we store fat, how we build muscle, and how we recover. Our bodies have less margin for error. That's not a reason to quit. It's motivation to double down. It's the exact reason calorie tracking becomes such valuable data. A modest calorie deficit paired with a high protein target is still the foundation for fat loss in perimenopause. But the deficit has to be more precise, and the protein target has to be non-negotiable. Food tracking gives us that precision. Sustainable weight loss after 40 isn't about a new diet. It's about better data. Question 2. Honestly, my biggest barrier to macro tracking is accuracy. Food tracking databases have user-submitted entries with bad data, and I cook for a family of 4. I'm not weighing every chicken thigh while my kids eat. How do we actually make calorie tracking work in real life? 2 strategies used together. First, on accuracy. We can use the entries marked as verified with a green check mark. We can scan barcodes on packaged foods, which pulls from the manufacturer's verified entry. And many restaurants publish calories on the menu or have official listings in food apps. The small amount of noise across thousands of meals averages out. Second, on family meals, we can front load the work before we ever even enter the kitchen. You can enter the recipe ingredients one time, divide by the number of servings, and from then on, we just log 1 serving of that meal. Is calorie counting going to be perfect? No. Is it going to be roughly right? Absolutely. And for women over 40, when the margin for error is smaller, roughly right, logged consistently, is what drives sustainable weight management. We're looking for trends, not precision. A directionally accurate log over 90 days tells us what we need to know about our maintenance calories. That's the actual goal. Question 3. What about the nights we genuinely can't track? Client dinners, travel, an evening with wine we're not measuring. Do those days ruin the food tracking data? No. And the biggest risk isn't the messy data. It's the negative story we tell ourselves about it. On those nights, the move is simple. Make our best estimate and log it anyway. Steak, asparagus, 2 glasses of wine, done. Even if we're off by a few hundred calories, the impact on our weekly averages is likely immaterial. We don't need the cleanest log to succeed at calorie tracking. We need our best estimates, and that includes the guesstimate days. The streak isn't perfection. The streak is showing up. Question 4. You said tracking eventually becomes optional. How do we know when we've reached that point? 3 signals to watch for. 1. We can eyeball a plate and estimate the calories with confidence. 2. We know our maintenance calories, and our body confirms it with long-term expected weight shifts. And 3. We feel confident navigating travel and restaurant meals without our body composition meaningfully shifting. When all 3 are true, we've internalized the system. We can keep logging. I do. But it becomes a choice, not a crutch. That's the actual finish line. Not a goal weight, not a streak count, the internalized instinct. Okay, those are the big ones. And if this was useful, here's what to do next. First, grab the assets audit. It's the 1-page version of all 6 pillars. You can self-rate in 60 seconds, pick your lowest score, and that's your red light. The audit gives you the single green light move to take in the next 24 hours. Because you can't lead from empty. Link is in the description. It's free. Second, subscribe. There's one more pillar in this series, and it's the foundation that makes the whole framework possible. New videos every Thursday evening for the professional who's ready to bring executive intensity to herself. Because when you're optimized, everyone wins. Total energy is the budget, but the budget only works if you spend it on the right line item. Pillar 6, sustenance, is the protein priority that anchors the whole framework. The capstone of the asset series coming next.